Wow. Man, I always say this at the beginning of our classes, but this time I am truly honored for this very, very special session of Cannon's class, just because not only am I a fan, I consider myself a student, and just I'm in the presence of a real legend, not just somebody we give that title to on so many different levels, not just as an artist, not just as a leader, but as a teacher. Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone. KRS One is in the building. King, it is such a great pleasure to have you on Cannon's class, and I know some lives are going to be changed based off of this conversation.
You're making history right now,
man, and I believe it. I walk in, or should we say, Oustory?
Oustory, word.
And usually we start the class off with a framing question. Yeah. We reference many books, from W.E.B. Du Bois, one of my favorite, The Souls of Black Folk, to many James Baldwin books, to Message to the Black Man by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But we are adding one to the one of many to the collection, The Gospel of Hip Hop.
Oh, absolutely.
The First Instrument by KRS One.
Yes.
An author, obviously, you've been doing that for a while, working on several other books in the making, a philosopher, and so many things. So I got so many questions, man. I got a lot of things I want to start with, but
you just wrote my bio. You just rewrote. I'm taking it every word here.
I got you. If you need a foreword for one of your books, a preface, I'm on it. I'm in, because I truly consider myself a student from the game. All the way from Boogie Down Productions to everything that you've done in hip hop as a leader. And we need more leaders. I was recently talking with Brother Risa Islam, and we had the conversation about who is the next black leader. And we really didn't have an answer. For Generation Z, what I mean? We have a lot of people that have stepped up, and we said that ultimately when you have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as well as Barack Obama, when you see the two figureheads, but that's a different generation.
Right.
And a generation that we've benefited from and respected, and my sons will be able to look at those individuals and say, wow, those were great men that led our people.
Right.
But who's next? And what is the message from that next generation? And it's kind of scary to know that there's possibly not a true leader for this next generation. So one of the first things I would start off or like to start off with in asking and framing a question of, how does one become a leader in this hip hop game?
Whoa, you just steered it over to the hip hop game.
And when I say hip hop game, I mean the generation of where we are now. I feel like that is this, ultimately hip hop is probably the leading force in shaping culture for what it is today. All culture, not just pop culture, not just hip hop culture, world culture. It's a connector. And you are someone who helped birth this culture. As a leader, you birthed a culture that is now controlling this next generation. How do we operate within that?
Well, you bring up several things.
I do.
You brought up several pieces here. Let's try to digest this. First of all, before we get into what leadership is, first of all, let's put leadership to the side. Quick answer.
Right.
A good leader solves problems.
Right.
Period.
Right.
You have to have the courage to solve a problem. Problems exist because people are afraid to solve them.
Right.
It's not that we don't have the answer. We got mad answers.
Right.
People are afraid to implement those answers.
Right.
Because of whatever the backlash may be.
Right.
Whatever they perceive it may be.
Right.
Put leadership to the side.
Okay.
You touched on something interesting.
Where
you said we were talking about black leadership and realized that we was having a struggle with who that possibly could be.
Right.
Well, this is not so much a bad thing. And here's why. Because when you look at, you have to ask yourself, what kind of people do we want to become?
Wow.
When we say we're looking for leadership, what kind of people do we want to be? Now, that's going to mean that this leader is not going to be the leader for everyone.
Right.
Some of us are going to have to unite around a specific thought. And this is where I say what you said is interesting, because our people, and let me just, and when I say our people, I don't even know really how to label our people.
Our people.
Our people.
Our cultural people.
What is
the melanated original man?
Which is it? Our people. But if you look and you look at civilizations throughout the years. Let's look at African civilization. African civilization never really had leadership. We had principles and laws. This is where Europeans get the idea that a nation should be governed by laws and not by people. Now, if we go back to Africa on it, we would see that we don't need a leader. We need principles. In our community, it's the principles that are the leadership.
Right.
Laws themselves are the leadership. We know that we can be corrupt. We can fall. We can be weak.
Humans are flawed.
Humans are flawed.
The code is solid.
We already know that.
Right.
Okay. And there's another argument with that idea of humans being flawed. It's not that we're flawed, we're just animals.
Facts.
Put it that way. But come over here. No, we can do some crazy things. So if you want to run a nation, first let's put the law up front.
Okay.
What's the law?
Right.
The law will lead. The law will dictate who is going to be the leader.
Right.
The law will dictate what the community going to be doing.
Right.
But where's the law? Now, this is the discrepancy with Africa.
Right.
Africa's a continent that has 100,000 cultures in it. Okay? There are people that live right next door to each other in Africa, like 200 miles away from each other, and are as different as, say, Irish from Korean.
Right.
And I mean, in Africa, both black people.
Right.
Okay, but your culture and way is so different from my culture and way, yet we both Africans, we both black.
Right.
Now, we don't experience that in America. In America, you go to California, it's black folk. There's a slight difference.
Right.
They're black folk.
A little twang in the slang.
You go to the South, it's a little something different, but it's a little Florida, okay? New York, whatever, okay? But imagine these differences of people magnified by humanity itself.
Right.
Look at how we act right here in the United States.
Right.
This is how Africa was acting 10, 20, 30,000 years ago. Even just 5, you want to say. We was wilding. We was straight bugging. Look at us right now. Look at African Americans.
Okay.
Okay, just the whole of us right now. If we ever united, Africa would unite. Because although we look at the slave trade as a Holocaust, and it was, we also can see that a lot of Africa was united in slavery. We were brought here to America. Some of us also came here willingly to the United States. We all here. Africa is not united. We can see that, right? You can turn the news on and see that. Africa is not united, okay?
Right.
But all of the African people are in the United States.
Yes.
So if this thing called African American would ever unite,
Then all
of Africa will unite here in the United States.
Right.
Now, after the law is set, what is our Constitution? Like, what is the law? What is it? This is what we need. African, if you say African Americans, we're talking about our people. Where's our African American Constitution? This is what we need. A constitution. We come together, the greatest thinkers. Our minds, it might take us a year, 2 years to get it together, but we argue and think this thing out.
Indeed.
And we come up with an African American Constitution.
Interesting.
That says
why haven't we done that?
Well, because you haven't. We haven't had this discussion yet.
Right.
No, you're making history because you're asking people what the solutions are. And this is, of course, just one solution. Hopefully those that are listening to us are being inspired to think.
Right, and then in the past when I asked that question, obviously the Panthers had their code. I mean, different groups have, the Nation of Islam. They have their rules and regulations and time that you have to put in to get to the levels of the nation. There is code, but an actual constitution in the same way that from the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Federation, because even what people sometimes where I find what you just said really interesting is the way that the actual Constitution is broken down, and the three different types of government that they discuss. You know what I mean? And where the ruling actually, because if you set that up in the same way, you still have to have, the judicial aspect of it, you have to have the executive aspect of it, and then where, we vote. That would be interesting because each of those articles are kind of refer to those different people. So we would then have to set up some type of hierarchy and government amongst ourselves. So like when you touch the Constitution, we gotta have our own government.
Now we're getting to the solution.
Right.
Once African Americans are sovereign,
I love my favorite word, actually.
we don't have no more problems, or at least the problem will be then squarely on us.
Right. That's back to my turban. That's my belief. The sovereignty within. I am self-governed. So to be self-governed as an individual, but then to be self-governed within our own community is even saying so much. So
well, you just laid out the math for it. A self-governed individual is the citizen of a self-governed community.
Wow.
You can't be a citizen and not be self-governed. That's why we have jails.
Right.
People can't
Facts.
But a true citizen has already governed his or herself.
Right.
So then you can join a community of others that are willing to govern themselves.
Right.
Meaning, I'm not going to kill you. You ain't going to kill me. I'm not robbing you. You ain't robbing me. I'm not lying to you. You're not lying to me.
Because I have my own code. I have my own within.
And matter of fact, I can hand it to you.
Right.
Here's my code.
Right.
Can I see yours?
Right. Right.
I know what you about. You know what about. Originally, it was the Bible.
Originally.
For America.
For America.
For America, it was the Bible. And even that's arguable. But in American history, it's the Bible.
Right.
Where we sat down, you have
Roman Catholicism.
Actually passed down. That's what it actually is.
Right.
But that was the unifier.
Right.
That's what we all came around.
And it worked for a certain group of people.
For 400 years, even longer than that, but in America, and it's funny because we're in 2019, 2019.
Exactly 400 years ago.
400 years. On my birthday, August 20th, is the exact day.
Wow.
It's supposed to be 20 niggers
arrived
in Jamestown, Virginia.
Wow.
August 20th. But the point is that where's our unifier?
Right.
You mentioned Roman Catholicism and also just the idea, well, the Bible itself. This is the importance of religion in society. And I mentioned the word religion.
Right.
Not spirituality.
Religion.
Okay, religion in society.
The religion.
Okay, to bring you
together.
Okay.
Right. The rules and regulations.
And from God. Okay. And so, but this is the point of it, is that when you're building civilization, we don't make ourselves brothers.
Right.
We are not brothers until we have the same mother or father, until we have the same parent.
Right.
It's our mother that makes us brothers. We'll never be brothers. Even brothers are not brothers.
Right.
Until they recognize their parent.
mother. Yeah, right.
Or the mother. And this is, I would say, the mother.
The mother.
You recognize the mother. You recognize the parent.
Right.
Okay. Without God, we ain't brothers.
Say that again. Without God, we ain't brothers.
We ain't brothers. Or sisters. Or family.
Right.
Or better yet, human.
Right.
So the ancient African never believed in a God in the sky. We know this. Please. Okay?
Right.
We were studying astronomy.
Right.
We knew what was in the sky.
We knew what was going on.
Okay. But the concept, the state concept of religion.
Right.
if there's this one thing that we all come from,
Right.
I don't have to know you. You ain't got to know me. This is the thing
Yeah.
that we all know we come from.
Yeah, right.
We can form a nation.
We can form a nation under that. If it's the almighty Ra is a representation, if it's the allegory that makes it easier for them to digest,
That's right.
if it's easier for me to explain it to my child and pass it down when I tell him he looks up at the stars, that's how I can define religion for everyone to get on one accord.
That's right.
And there doesn't have to be any beef in what I believe and what you believe, because when we look up, we see the same thing.
Akhenaten, Nefertiti.
Same thing.
Here's the Aten.
Yeah.
The Aten shines on us all.
Right.
You can go look at it. We can all.
Very simple.
Brings everyone together around
Right.
one concept.
Great story. Great
story.
Right. And that idea, when getting to, because just to go a little deeper without losing anyone, to go to that idea of energy and organisms. And then once you understand everything that is in the skies inside of us, and that we have that same power in the God within, and that even in explaining what's going on in the stars, from a novice standpoint, you can say you are that and I am that with this in the God within me.
Right.
That concept should be easy enough for everybody to grasp, to say that we are all one, because ultimately that's what we're ultimately trying to get to in this self-governed sovereignty existence, to say if we are all brothers under this one existence, this one source, that in energy is transferable and never dying, then there must be this easy concept for us to say we're all related. You're my brother. How do we coexist together?
It should be easy, but there's a word that we have to interject into our conversation. It's called imperialism.
Okay. that's a heavy one. I didn't know that was going to be the word.
Inject that in.
Yeah.
Imperialism.
Because that doesn't come from Africa, or does it?
Well, everything comes from Africa.
Right.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right. But the mindset or the concept of imperialism.
The way we're using imperialism, should I say white European colonialism.
Right.
Or imperialism is what we're suffering from.
Yes.
The Carthaginians were also colonists.
Right.
The Phoenicians were colonists. The Egyptians, the Cushites, they
Right.
all ran into other people's lands.
Right.
Setting up shop.
Absolutely.
But most people wanted them there. It
was an exchange.
It was an exchange.
You bringing this from your land, I'm bringing this from my land.
And we allow you to stay here. You're not from here, but we want you here.
Right.
That's still a form of colonization. It's still a colony, but it's not like...
It's not imperialism where I'm taking over your land.
I'm letting off bombs,
right.
guns,
and sickness.
Attack dogs and sickness.
Right.
Okay, that's a different thing.
Right.
Now, when that's your society, the simplest things like you just mentioned are impossible.
Right.
I mean, they are literally impossible. Justice is impossible in a colonial society.
Right.
That's the first thing that goes away in a colonial society. We chilling, sitting here talking just like we are right now, and some people come through the door and rope us both up. You may fight.
I mean, I'm about to say, we got to put them hands on them before that.
No, but look what our ancestors were up against. Look at some of our ancestors beat these people down. It was like, you don't hear about them in history.
Right.
But they got
beat
still
down. Over there.
They said they got beat down. But imagine you chilling like this and somebody coming and a bomb goes off. Boom. You like this, yo, Nick, you all right? Yo, before you even know it, dogs are coming. You fighting the smoke in the air. After a while, you're subdued through terrorism.
Right.
Now you can still be thinking, how am I get out of this? But you're subdued. You're roped up. You seeing your people
against my will.
Against your will. Now, if this is how it started, if this is how it starts. Things like justice, unity, God, mercy, forgiveness, intelligence, understanding. And when I say intelligence, I mean understanding. These things are impossible. So now we jump to another level, and not to get too deep into it. But there's a saying that says that in a society that is based on lies, you can do anything
Wow.
So, yeah, we're in a situation where the simplest things like peace, love, unity, joy, simple stuff.
Simple.
Simple.
Easy concepts that everyone wants.
That everyone wants and understands. You can't have it in a colonial situation. In fact, colonialism its presence is stepping on those things.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we can't have that. But now, you mentioned God. Anything you give a God is good for a God.
Ooh. Okay.
Anything
Anything
you give a God,
to a God is good for a God.
Anything you give the devil is good. Is bad for the devil. Like,
Right.
in other words, you can give the devil something good,
and he's gonna turn it bad. Right.
Give the devil something bad. He's gonna make good out of that.
Yeah, he gonna do what the devil supposed to do with it.
Boom. Your nature. Is your nature God? Yeah, my nature is God. So here's the poison. We want you to take this and so on.
You right on top of it. I see
so
where you're going.
God takes your poison in the mouth, gone. But guess what comes out? The cure.
Cure.
If you live in a society of lies, that means you could do anything.
Right.
You can be anything. You can basically let's leave the truth alone for a minute. Okay? Put the truth to the side. I'm having too much fun with these lies.
This fantasy.
With this fantasy. That's what it is.
Fairy tales.
That's the proper word.
Fantasies.
Fantasy. I'm having too much fun in the fantasy to face reality.
The Matrix.
Here we go.
Well, I know he's gonna get this deep this quick.
Well, you opened it up.
I'm ready, man.
Look, this is where we at. So the question then becomes, first, and this goes back to leadership too, what kind of person are you?
Are you a god or you a devil?
Are you a god or you a demon? The word, our ancestors used the word demon. D-man. To not man. Man is man.
Right.
To a not man is a demon.
To take the humanity out of you.
To not be human.
Right.
That's the demon. The demon.
Right.
That's it. So either you that, and that's your nature too. Here's this cruel part to nature, to the universe.
The yin and the yang.
This is you, dog. This is who you are.
You can't have this without that.
Look, you the devil.
Right. Play your position.
Play your role. But you ain't faster than God.
Yeah.
No, we way faster than you. You go ahead and play the role.
You there just so people know that I am God.
That's what you need to say. That's the revelation. You there so that people can know who the real sovereign is. That's why you there. So
I'm gonna watch this about 1,000 times. I already know that.
Listen,
this is my sermon to get up every day. I can already feel it.
You've lived 1,000 times already, and that's why I thank you too for your contribution. I mean, look what you're doing to the fabric of history itself, to the actual fabric. We're coming up on Black History Month.
Yes.
February, and 400 years. This is the February we should be thinking about. Like, seriously.
For real.
Who are we? What did we achieve? What does it mean to be black? And is that even the title, black?
Right. Is that what we call it?
Is that what we call it? We need a convention that ends with our Constitution.
Wow.
We
do.
For
that's real. That's real action. That's real action.
Real, right? Let's do that and talk about this in this way. I'm going to interview you. The idea of laws.
Right.
With a constitution, we set out what our African American nation is.
Okay.
When we do that, we have a court system. We have our own courts.
Our own courts.
Okay. Once you have law, you have a court. You just need a building. Okay. You have or somebody to interpret the law.
With the supreme justice.
The supreme justice, right? That he represent the law. He gonna represent that law. So the what I'm getting at is, with our own laws and court, we cannot be arrested ever again. In fact, we start arresting people. This, I think, is the African American challenge going into the future, especially with the new president or a new president that's coming in, is that when we talk about the protection of our community, the main issue is that we can't arrest others when they harm us.
Okay.
The law is one way in the United States.
We see that.
It's one way. It's white law on everyone.
Right.
But white people don't follow no one else's laws. Like the Native Americans as a nation, we should all be following their laws.
Their laws. It's their land.
It's their land. We should be following. African Americans should come together. Latino. What is the Latino law? I should know it, and when I'm in their community, follow it.
Follow it.
Their law probably should be competing with each other in law.
To come up with the best law.
The best law that's argued amongst scholars, Latino, Native American, Asian, Persian.
All come to the table and say our law is justified in this way. Can I see your law so we can help better everyone's law?
And now create global law.
Right.
And now we have peace on earth because we all, not this colonial, we coming in with bombs and guns, get on your knees, that's the law.
Now, just to take you one area for a second, and because this is a real question that I often ask in times like, or the Bilderberg Group, or Trilateral Commission. These are things that we're set up to believe are what the novice would call something like the Illuminati.
Yes.
But to your point, they believe that they are doing exactly what you just said.
Right.
Some of the most powerful people in Germany will come to this table. Some of the most powerful people in America. Some of the most powerful people in media. They all sit at a table once a year and discuss how to come together. That idea of a one world government has been embedded in our mind to be something of danger and something that, this ideal of monotheistic, everyone on the same page,
right.
Therefore everyone is ruled by one God, one understanding,
right.
which is extremely dangerous.
That's right.
But
right.
if everyone's at the table, that could be where peace and unity is. So I'm torn to when someone speaks of the Illuminati or even these real organizations I just named. Are they doing bad or are they doing good? Are they God or are they evil? or demons?
Well, when you mention organizations like the Bilderberg Group or let's just say the banks. Okay. That's what they are. That's when you say Trilateral Commission or
the central banking system.
The central banking system, that's basically what that is.
Right. Okay. Or money, men of power.
Money, same thing.
That's what I mean. Because the only thing is when we say banks, then we start talking over people's heads, and they thinking, Chase and J.P. Morgan and all that. I'm saying right now, the people with all the bread are sitting down making rules for us way above Donald Trump's power.
Those who named Chase Bank.
Right.
Okay, these guys.
Right.
Rockefellers, J.P. Morgan.
J.P. Morgan.
These guys.
Right.
Bob Marley said something interesting. He said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. Stop here.
Bars.
Now.
Bars.
The prophet spoke.
Indeed.
Okay. These groups, are not above nature, the universe, and God.
Natural disasters prove that every time.
Every day. When we look at these groups, we are looking at what they are advertising themselves to us as. This is a propaganda and perception game.
Indeed.
When you get into, and forgive me, those that are listening, I'm not going to expose the deeper.
That's going to be on another session. We just scratching the surface
We're just scratching it.
But I need it.
I'm not going to give away some of the symbols of Freemasonry in this public forum.
Because then it wouldn't be what it's established to be.
Well, respect, to the organizations. But I can say this. Deception is what rules nations Go back to the fantasy. Mm-hmm. You can have whatever you want in a fantasy.
You got to paint the picture.
But that fantasy is based on deception. Now,
the devil's greatest trick is proving that he never existed at all.
That's bars. Well, these groups, they are designed to deceive. There's no truth in them. So the one who is...
Except for to say, hey, look over here.
Look over. Well, that's about it. This is a look over. That is about it. You're trying to get my direction over here.
That's the Illuminati. We got to hate them.
Right.
They're the reason why I'm failing in life.
Right. These rich folks, the 1% is the reason why I'm failing in life.
Instead of self-reflecting.
Well, my wife has an acronym that says blame. Because looking at me ain't easy.
That's a powerful queen you got over there.
She's in the corner.
Because looking at me ain't easy.
Blame. And this is the point with blame, is that no, you are the master of your reality, if you can understand that. You live in a fantasy, if you can understand that.
The Matrix. So
then you ask yourself, with all this crime that has been going on and all of this, and go back to your question about these societies and so on, none of them is above nature. None of them. So as long as you know nature, God, the universe, or should I say this? God, universe, nature. That's your gun. G-U-N. God, universe, nature. Remember that gun. I'm putting a weapon in your hand. God, universe, nature. That's the gun you fight back with.
Wow.
When you have that gun in your hand, nothing they say, do, are, be, nothing. Now, how do I know this? Hip hop.
Bring it back.
1970s, all these organizations was against us. Every last one of secret societies we knew about.
Right.
Government agencies.
FBI, CIA.
Imagine the
KKK.
Go back on this. The entire strength of this colonial system was against our parents.
All right.
The entire, not just one agency.
The entire government was against our parents that had nothing except one gun. God, the universe, and nature. They defeated that government. The government you have now exists because our parents destroyed the last one. The enemy is never going to tell you when they lost. No, it's up to the winners to say they won. To write the history.
Right, the winners
write history.
We won. There was a war that went on from after the Civil War. In fact, the Civil War never ended.
Never.
But right after the Civil War on the battlefield,
Reconstruction
jumped off. And I wouldn't even call it, I mean, that's just
reassemblization.
You know what? Reconstruction is the word in history. Emancipation, procrastination. I mean, proclamation. That's also the word in history.
Right.
So we use these terms, but the point is that the war never ended. And our people are not fighters. We're not that. Right? We're artists.
Right.
We're the nerds of the world. Could you imagine?
We have so much power that we don't have to enforce it.
We don't have to. We are the truth itself. Imagine they're fighting against us just being.
God don't fight.
God don't have to. Go back to hip hop. They had everybody against us. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that one day you racists are going to be sitting, Eminem is going to be sitting with Dr. Dre. That's what he said. I have a dream. Okay, that one day Third Base was going to be doing a concert with De La Soul.
Beastie Boys and Run DMC.
Beastie Boys and why could I forget Beastie Boys and Run DMC? But imagine now, either we going to look at the King, Dr. King, and say, oh, that was just a fun speech. His speech came true.
All the way.
All the way true, and it came true in us. So here you have a man speaking, 1963, he's talking to the nation, to the world. He says, I have a dream of human unity. where we all can come together. Look at the vision of this is African American enlightenment.
The promised land.
The promised land. This is it right here. Okay? Now, only a few people supported Dr. King when he gave the speech, after he gave the speech, and when he died or was killed. The prophet is never welcomed in his own home. And so we look at the words of our prophets, and I'm just saying Dr. King, there's Garvey, Kwame Ture, Malcolm X, and others. I mentioned them. We could look them up and you know them. Martin R. Delaney. But we don't heed their message. We don't heed their message. And it's not a criticism of our people. We've been trained to be objective to our education. So even though we learn about our ancestors, we never become them. We can learn all day about great men and women of our ancestry, but we will never continue them.
Because their energy is eternal.
Their energy is with us right now. If you could tune into it.
Right.
But if you got a word like Illuminati in your head, that very word.
Blockage.
Boom, you can't see nothing. They run everything. They are God.
They're more powerful than I am.
They're everything. And they're sitting back just like you are watching the same television you watch.
Right.
And they're just as afraid. They click on, Revolt TV.
If they only knew how much power they had. That's what they really saying.
They watching, they say, yo, if they only knew.
If they could just bring it all together, they'd be a dangerous force.
Here's the sick part. Don't let them know. Don't let them know the power they have. Because
let's keep them confused.
Keep them confused. Keep them arguing amongst each other.
Throw some more media at them.
Throw some media at them. And this is the sick part, okay? Here's the sick piece. It's not our children that are affected by this. These are intellectuals that are affected by this.
Facts.
The smarter you get, it seems the dumber you get. The smarter our intellectuals become, the more cowardly they become. This has something to do with this colonial education we're getting, because I know some great black minds. I'm in the university system. I see these minds. I talk. People, great minds. But that paycheck is going to dictate what's going to come out that mind. Or come out your mouth of that mind.
And that paycheck is based off of that other piece of paper that they got to affirm their paycheck.
I got master's degree.
So therefore I get paid more.
I get paid more.
Therefore I'm controlled by your system.
I know the truth, but let me not speak it right now.
Nah, because I can't. I got to feed my family.
Right. Now, feeding your family is way more important than speaking the truth to a people that's going to treat you like they did Dr. King. If there was a reward to speaking truth, more people would.
Indeed.
Well, there's no
That's
reward.
not where the bag is. Because like you said, the bag is in the fantasy.
See, that's what the bag is. And so here we are. We're summing up the issues of leadership. We're summing up the issues of that word sovereignty and what the real issue is with our people. Education has a lot to do with it, of course. But we don't need education. We don't need this education.
Because we have wisdom.
We have being.
Right.
We are. And the more we love who we are, you'll do fine in the fantasy. You'll do fine. Now, some of us, we like to dabble into the truth every once in a while. We say,
that would be me.
Let me get to the truth and see what it really, really is. Those are the leaders. Those are the people, and not just those who stay in the truth, but those who can differentiate between truth and fantasy, right and wrong, good and evil, good and bad, discipline and evil. Those that can do that are the leaders. But that's not a thing that's done. That's a thing that's lived through principle. So when the principle is established, the leadership will come out of that principle. There's our leader right there. Our leader is watching us right now. And she is probably deciding, they are probably deciding what type of leader they can be. And let me also say this. It would be really interesting?
What's that?
If black people... And this is controversial. I'm gonna bring this up. This is controversial. This is totally it right here. That that if black people, African Americans, hired white leadership, now here's why. Because the idea of race, which we might not be able to have time to get into here, but the fictitious idea of race is something that African Americans are going to have to deal with as well when we talk about leadership and building our nation, because the concept of race is a colonial concept in and of itself. So in a paradox, for us to
when we flip it on his head,
if we flip it on his head, we're back to white leadership or some other leadership other than ourselves to prove that our community is beyond race.
what the past community.
Well, what the past community.
So, but isn't a quick way to fix that, or even just to put it on lame terms? I always say we all gonna be beige anyway.
Word.
So why does if we all we have the same level of melanin in the next few generations?
You solved it. That's it.
Right.
Then let's redefine black.
Right.
Human is black.
Original man. We
Original
all come
man.
from the source.
Okay.
And if that's
it.
what we're trying to get back to,
Right.
and ultimately that's the
And
trajectory and where we're going.
White people as well are black.
You're right. So and they just lack pigmentation or lack melanin.
Which is the truth, by the way. Just on another level.
And that's lack melanin, which therefore they have these insecurities or these insufficiencies, scared of that powerful sun that we embrace. So that's
wait a minute. No. They also have efficiencies. They're willing to unite around that inefficiency. We can't seem to.
They have to.
And so they have to unite around that inefficiency. And the way I wish we was white.
Because then
we would unite finally. We'd have, what is the reason for black people to unite? There is none. We are the world. That's what we.
And we have too much ego.
Well, that's a whole nother.
But the idea, if we know who we are and we know what we can overcome, why do we need to come together?
Back to spirituality. See, religion does lead to individualism. Your personal relationship with God. We are brothers in a state religion because the religion says the sun is where we all come from. You see the sun, we all brothers under the sun. But it's the sun that's uniting us. I'm still an individual. And nature is weird like this because nature produces individuals. The retina in your eye is only yours.
Only mine.
My fingerprint is only mine. There's only one KRS.
Right.
There's only one Nick.
But it's all created by the one mathematics.
Right, which makes us one. We all have two arms, leg, arm,
Right.
As you used to say back in the days, arm, leg, arm, leg. Okay. Allah, right. we all Allah.
Yeah.
Okay, but are we? And this is nature. This is the breathing of nature, the yin and yang of nature. Night and day exist at the same time. It's just how the earth is going. The fist is the hand, or is the palm. Like, where did the fist go? The fist is still here. Where did the hand go? The palm go? No, this is a fist. Everything's still here.
It's the perception.
So how do we perceive ourselves? How do we perceive our nation? How do we perceive the future? And if you and I can unite on how we see things, we create reality. And that's freedom. To create your own reality. That's the freedom.
Living my own truth.
I'm living my own truth. Or in this instance for civilization, we are living our truth. That gets back to now, whether it be a religion, a group, or something. It seems like that is what we have to deal with because of the nature of the environment we're in. But you touched on something, in individuality is still important. It's very important.
Right.
And there lies the unanswerable question that leads to being as opposed to knowing.
And then the purpose, hopefully, is to commune, to create a community, or the unity with, is because if we don't commune, then we no longer exist.
Right.
So even as much as we want to be individuals and have our own beliefs, every organism needs another organism in order to keep going forward. So I would take that concept and going back to what we originally started to talk about, how leadership, how do we get together? Just to touch on universal law for a second. So if we're going to talk about law, if there are things that are established that we know that they're concepts, no matter what religion you believe, there's things in this universe that gravity.
That's right.
However you define it, we got to operate in faith. Mm-hmm. However, these are things that some people call karma. These are things that are all a part of universal law that have been established by the Most High for us to deal with. Mm-hmm. Is that something that we can at least be a blueprint, pardon the pun, to actually start to operate from? If every person understood the concepts of universal law, that seems where you take that imperialism and that colonial European colonial mindsets out of it and say, no, this is all. And I often liken to the Asian community or the East Asian, or whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Buddhism, they seem to operate under the more concepts of universal law and finding oneness and to need nothing is what true happiness is. Touching on that, because then you get outside of the paper chase and trying to secure the bag, but it's more about I don't need anything. And ideas of like tangible, material money doesn't make me happy. Happy makes me money. Happy gets me those material things. Happy puts me in a place to where I can give to others and do for others and be more of a light than a sound.
Right.
And knowing that as a light, I can operate on a frequency, but I don't have to be the frequency. Right. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the answers. I like to frame the questions and put it where it needs to go. But that would be where I would start from. But again, you the philosopher, you the teacher. I'm just
the philosopher.
I'm the student.
That was heavy right there. I mean, no, you're dabbling with this individuality versus the collective, and this is one of the oldest arguments that there is. Confucius versus Lao Tzu. Most people go with Lao Tzu and the idea of, in other words, Confucius was about the state. Happiness is found in serving the state. That's right. Confucius. Happiness is found in the community. Right. Lao Tzu, no, happiness is found in the mountains, in the forest, alone in that sense.
Yeah, Moses and Jesus had to go to the mountain.
Right. To gain that, right. Again, I think this comes down to character, where, Jesus said, my sheep know my voice. The leader is not the leader for everybody, but to not call your group is failure. Like to not call your people together, to not call your family, the like-minded ones, together. Nature brings us together and rips us apart. And see, that's why I say there's no answer. That you are a philosopher. There's no answer to that. It's really a revelation on reality that we are both these things, a collective and an individual at the same time. That we are both irresponsible and responsible. I am my brother's keeper. I am, yet I can't be. No man can save another man. But I am my brother's keeper.
Yeah, dude, there's no, it's all how you look at it.
Right.
It's that paradigm. The light shines through it. It's gonna say different things.
And this is touch on. I mean, you go back to what you were saying about wealth, riches.
Yeah.
And that now, of course, it's easy for the rich to say you don't need money.
I made that mistake once, and everybody got at me because like, if you guys only understood, it's not about money. It's like, yeah, from a rich nigga, that makes a lot of sense.
I put that disclaimer on.
Yeah, but because I've had that revelation,
no doubt,
that. And as a simple concept, Biggie had it as well. More money, more problems. But when you understand the responsibility that is on one shoulder
Right.
when everyone's using you as the generator. Right. You're the plug, right. And they're plugged into you, and they're sucking out of you. They're draining you. And if everything in life is energy, and I would say energy is currency, but but what people don't understand, it's not the paper, but it's the idea to know that you have that to be able to do whatever you want to do.
That's right.
Like I said, right now there's only 3% in circulation of actual paper money.
Right. Could you imagine
Everything
that?
else, it's just numbers
It's
in it,
trust,
in code,
faith.
So that's not that. It doesn't matter how much of the actual paper I have. It's the energy behind that paper that people know he's worth a lot. Well, Forbes said he's worth this, so I'm gonna give him some more if I'm a bank. Because it's documented somewhere he's worth this much.
The rich get richer.
And that's the way it continues to function.
Well, there's something to be said about human nature about this, because the rich get richer. And what you just said was interesting. Energy. It's like you say, right? People are more apt to give money to rich people than to poor people. It's crazy.
Ill concept.
The rich get richer. But there's something about human nature that wants to unite with success. And go back to this part about having money. Now, of course, true wealth is health. True wealth.
Learn that.
Okay, is health. Without health, we're poor. Okay, that's the bottom line.
Brinks trucks don't follow hearse.
Nobody. Okay.
You can't take it with you.
Well-being, peace, health, we just established, that's your true wealth. But we live in a fantasy. And I can't front. I like the fantasy.
I love the fantasy.
In the fantasy, you have a game to play. Now, this is the political game with money, okay? It's better to have a society run on money than on race.
Okay.
Because
it's an equalizer.
It's an equalizer. Now, I don't like it, okay? I'm not I'm not a banker. I'm not a person who thinks about money all day in that sense. It's not my business. But in this game we're playing called the United States of America.
Monopoly.
If you on this Monopoly board right here, okay, if you on that board, you are urged to make enough of these tickets called dollars. You are urged to do this because if you do this, we will treat you like a human being.
The great equalizer.
Great equalizer. Now look at the sickness though, because you have these papers. We're gonna treat you like a human being.
Right. Which I should already be treated like.
Okay. We're in a fantasy here. Okay. So at the end of the day though, there used to be a time that even if you was rich and black, you still could not go in. You still could not be part. You still was unprotected. Your property could still be taken. You got money. You rich. Your color stifling you. Now we've at least creeped from racism to currency, to money.
Yeah.
We went from racism to money. And that's where we went. We went from this country, there was no before. We went from a racist society to a greedy one.
Right.
So now we're greedy.
A true caste system.
Caste system. Here we are now. Now, right, we went from racism to caste. We call it class.
Right.
But caste system, and thus the Aryan and all of that, and okay.
All right.
In this system, though, you are treated humanely if you are of the higher caste, which is determined by how many tickets you have or can produce. How much credit you have in the society.
Which is debt.
Which is the debt. How invested are you in the society?
What side of the debt are you on?
Are you on? So there's these people who don't need money. They don't operate in the money system. They give the money to us.
Yeah, right.
For us to run around and try to get it.
But they're beyond it.
They're beyond the money. Now, China taught a good lesson in the early part of 2000, 2001, 2002. If some will recall, that the president I think it was Bush at the time. It could also be Obama as well. I heard Obama say this as well. President Obama say this, that China was abusing the economy by making its yuan. They were devaluing their yuan.
Right.
Their
on
currency,
purpose.
On purpose. Okay, they were making it less because you could sell more of them to other countries. The banking, it was a total.
And our banking system was going to crash because they were
devaluing their money. Now, hold that thought. A few more years back, 90s, Nike. They got sweatshops in Indonesia somewhere. True indeed. But when you look at the Indonesian economy, you learn a valuable lesson.
What's
Not
that?
taking anybody off the hook here. But look at China, then I'll go to Indonesia. China. A family of 5 could live on $10 a week. In America, we look at that as poverty as opposed to great wealth. Then imagine for what we do for $100, they do the same exact thing for 10. Who's wealthy?
They're wiser.
If you could feed everybody in this room, and I'm talking about chicken, rice, beef,
we eat.
we getting down, okay, for $10. Because the whole economy is low. Look, somebody coming, the brother with the camera comes in and says, I want to hire both of y'all. You say, hey, to get me, it costs $13 an hour. I say, listen, I'm doing it for $2, my G. Who gets the job?
You get the job.
Boom. So China not only got the jobs of the world, they took the banks of the whole world. Went into Africa where the source of all world wealth is.
Right.
They in Africa.
Greatest mineral rich land there
everything
is.
comes out of that place.
Right.
Okay? All world economies.
Yes.
China went right to the source of the world economy and set up a new colonization plan. They in Africa right now.
Right now.
Now, do we call it colonization? Because the Africans are getting rich. Africans are inviting the Chinese in. Investments going down. Ain't nobody slaving over there.
At all.
There's African lawyers, doctors, engineers. They getting money, okay? But it is colonization.
It is.
But it is colonization. There's a foreign government in your land taking your resources. They paying you.
Right.
And you getting yours, but they're taking yours. There's going to be nothing for your children.
Yeah,
they're
they're not hijacking you with guns. They hijacking you with material.
Who are you then? Becomes the question. Who are you? Are you that material dude that can be bought like that? Because there's other Africans there that are now called terrorists that are saying, we don't want none of these people in our country and we're willing to take armed struggle against them. They're called terrorists. So either you want to be that, because you're saying we ain't allowing no colonialism in our country.
Or you want to be complacent and go with the
be
pattern.
complacent and go with world domination. Contribute to world domination. But then if you know, as the king, you say, wait a minute, this shit's a fantasy. The whole thing's a fantasy.
This can't be real. You guys
This is not real. You guys ain't real, and none of this is real. So at the end of the day, go ahead and take the oil fields. Go ahead and take this. And why? Because the true African resource, or should I say black resource in this instance, outside of color, the true human resource is the mind. We never lost our lands. We lost our minds. Ooh. We never lost land. The land is still there. We don't have the mind to go get it.
That's another bar. It's another bar.
We need the mind to go get the land. Is say we lost our land. Africa, right there.
We didn't lose our land. We lost our mind.
Brother, that's what it is.
Wow. And okay, so we went super deep.
Let's dig our way out.
Yeah. To reel it back out and just and we'll take another play on words because people don't know the first blueprint came from KRS One. Wow. I would like to just for our audience and for people who are truly seeking knowledge and want to be independent thinkers, a quick blueprint on how to get more of this type of information, so we can feed our community with just some tidbits and that idea. Like, so you brought me a care package of knowledge, but I would say, if you had to, for the young people that are watching, a few books that deals with a lot of these topics, that a good introductory to the world of supreme understanding and understanding the knowledge itself. What would you recommend, just if somebody, what's the KRS One book club,
Wow.
if we were going to join?
Wow, the book club. Well, first of all, I start with my own books.
Right.
And not arrogantly, what we are discussing is not in books. You'll get a piece here and a piece there, but what this level of discussion is a discussion. I would say, if you want more knowledge like this, tune in to Nick Cannon.
Cannon's class. We got it right here.
Tune in
we
right
go,
here.
Yeah.
There's really, and that's not true. There got to be a book out there on something like this. So I would say first search. In my knowledge, I have not come across books that discuss African American sovereignty.
We got to write it.
We have to write it.
We got to write them.
At least start talking.
Yeah.
And somebody, now there got to be books like this, and actually I know somebody's out there right now going, no, this.
Yeah, right.
And we need to know that.
Put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments. We definitely need to know that. But in my study, I have not seen a strong conversation, a book dedicated to what we discussed here today,
Right.
African American sovereignty, some of the issues surrounding leadership, and where our people need to go, how our people can move forward, spirituality connected to a political game plan, the importance of religion. No, I don't see. So right at the top, I'll say, knowledge like this, awareness like this comes from within. Trust your ancestors. A lot of what I learned, I didn't learn through books. I learned through travel. Rap music gives me the blessing
to travel.
I'm everywhere.
To see all the spirits around the world.
Everywhere. And I know you got stories.
Yes.
Okay? We land in these countries, you know.
And they offer their culture.
They are, right. You ain't got to search.
This is how we rock.
do.
Yeah. Let us show you.
And proud to show it.
Yes.
Okay? But let me tell you this too. In other cultures, they study us too. So I'm going to your question about where's this knowledge. The French have a huge history on African Americans, but it's in French. It's a completely different history than we have here. Germany.
It's their perspective.
Germany has a history on African Americans. All that they did, went in Africa, Hitler, everything. We are only studying the English version of our history.
The English version of African American
history. This is the only part of our history we're studying.
But there's other aspects of our own history.
Our own history here. This is where you have to start.
South America.
South America has a huge. Brazil has a huge. I don't know about Peru. I haven't been there.
Yeah.
But Brazil, yeah.
It's more black people down there next to Africa. That's the
First
second
of all,
most place.
after Reconstruction, the racists that lost the war, the Confederate, went to South America.
South America.
That's where they set up shop.
Yeah.
Okay. Our history's there too. So first and foremost, as advice.
And that revolution, that Haitian revolution.
Oh, come on. That caused the Louisiana Purchase.
Yep.
Napoleon stopped protecting us in Florida.
Yep.
Caused this dude to go by. So if you look at our history globally, you see African American history more clearly. That's what Oustory is about. That's what this theory.
The next one.
That's this book here called Black Oustory.
Hot off the press.
And I'm still writing. I'm finishing it up. I'm actually at the conclusion of it, and I'm finishing. That's just a present to you.
I appreciate it.
It's
I got it first.
Yes, you did.
It's the mixtape.
Yes, you did. That's real talk. And that's what we go into there, is to say that there is a history. We know that. But then there is an oustory. And that's a new word too in English. Oustory. O-U-S-T-R-Y.
I see that. And I was like, what is? I was like, oh, not his story, but our story.
Our story. But it's a new word.
Yeah,
Oustory. Okay? It's the subjective study of your history. Where you have to become your ancestors in order to know them. Wow. So you continue Garvey in order to know him.
Wow.
You continue
You
Kwame.
you continue Du Bois.
Continue Du Bois.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Booker T.
Booker T. You continue these great minds, and even in conflict. Even in conflict. Booker T
and WEB. But
conflict.
they in conflict, they got us somewhere.
We are a product of that conflict. I'm both W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. And I could rationalize the two
Both
in
of
my
them.
own head. I see it.
Am I gonna get this money? I'm gonna go use these guns.
I'm gonna do both.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
But so come back to the question. I put a period on it. First, our discussion is not in books. You have to travel, get a passport. That's the first book you should get. Is a passport.
First book you should get is a passport.
Word.
Bars.
That's the first book. Oh, yeah. Thank the ancestors for that.
Hey.
No, the first book is a passport. Now, after that book, you have access to all knowledge. It's so cheap to travel the world these days.
It is.
It is cheap. You can get around everywhere. You can go anywhere. Okay, anyway, fly, boat. I do the boats. You know, we fly. What? Have discussions with people when you land. Talk to the guy. Go in the regular store, bodega, whatever. 7-Eleven is global. You know what I'm saying? Go in 7-Eleven, talk to the person behind the. What's going on here? What's happening? Take a cab. Talk to the cab driver. Go to the museums. Visit the libraries. Take in the city. You'll come back and read a book and be like, none of this happened. This is not the truth. I was there.
I saw it. I heard it from the source.
From the source. What are you writing? Well, this person's writing from an African American or whatever. They're writing from an American point of view or a single point of view, wherever that view is. They're writing from that view. No, you've traveled the world now. You've seen things. You've studied languages. You know how to say please and thank you in 6 different, 8 different, 20 different languages. That's what you got to do, After you get your passport, learn how to say please and thank you in every language you can.
And she's beautiful.
That might go further. That may go much further. And so start there. Now the books.
Yes.
George G.M. James, Stolen Legacy. I'd start right here as a philosopher. Any work by Dr. Cornel West.
Absolutely.
Anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
We gotta get Dr. West in the class.
Oh, no
I need to
doubt.
learn from Dr.
Oh,
West.
no doubt. Anything by Dr. West.
Yeah.
Of course, on hip hop, I would refer to Michael Eric Dyson.
Yeah.
He's done some good work in terms of hip hop. I'm highly
He's coming
critical.
to the class soon.
He's coming.
Yeah.
No, that was some good work he
Yeah.
did. He has several books, and he mentions, the way he approaches hip hop in his work.
Right.
You can get it basically in all of his work. But when I read what he writes about hip hop, he's on it. He's actually on it. Read his work.
Yeah. Great orator.
Great orator. Read his an MC.
Yeah.
Read his work. There are the if you could go online, I guess it's online if you can get the originals. But the journals, it's called the Journal of Negro History. I think I'm getting this right. By Carter Goodwin Woodson.
Oh yeah, Carter G.
The
Woodson.
Journal of Negro History.
Yeah. Or even the miseducation of the Negro.
Yeah,
he had a.
Well, go ahead and get that too.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get the miseducation of the Negro. But you should already have.
You should have that one.
Actually, no, I'm not gonna put that on the list because you should already have that. You already had that.
Absolutely.
But it's by the same author.
Right.
But I would say the Journal of Negro History, because in those journals is history that I still haven't heard said.
Wow.
The whole sexual, just to go off for a minute, the sexual relations between slaves and slavers. Not in history.
Yeah, they scared to talk about it.
And it's always heterosexual sex or rape. Nothing about gay rape, nothing about consensual sex, nothing about the slave woman seducing the slave man. This was more prevalent than all the rapes we're hearing. This is more, not as prevalent. More. It was more prevalent for a black woman to seduce white men than to have them raped. This is the Delaney sisters. Read their book.
Right.
I forgot the name of it. Come on, what am I doing? Look it up. You got internet. The Delaney sisters, they talk about their 100, they lived for 103 and 102. They asked me about slavery. And they said, if you weren't there, don't have an opinion about it.
Wow. Okay.
That's what they said. They're from there.
Right.
Okay. That's what they said. They said if you wasn't, it's too complicated to just put to one little thing. He whipped me, he raped me, and that was it. No, it wasn't. There's a complex relationship going on here.
Right.
Between the oppressed and the oppressor. And the oppressor sometimes is the oppressed, which makes the oppressed of the oppressor feel for the oppressor and help out in the oppression.
And that's the mind control.
This is the mind. The southern planter was the oppressed of the northern banker.
You should feel sorry for me, so therefore you should work for me.
And some did. Some put a gun to his head and said, I'm out of here. More people freed themselves than were enslaved. We don't know that.
Wow. More people freed themselves
than were
enslaved.
We get this number, well, the number changes based on what historian you're talking to, but, we get these million numbers. 4 million.
4 million is what they say.
Is what they say. But this number is over a 10-year period, and it ends at the Civil War.
So they say.
So they say. This 4 million, though, no one's talking about the fact, first of all, that, oh man, it's too complicated to talk here. Half of those 4 million that are called slaves are not even slaves. They're called slaves in colonial records.
Right.
They're not slaves. They're skilled laborers. No one's whipping them. Nobody's hanging them. Nobody's beating them. They have rights. Morgan Freeman just put out a new DVD that escapes me, but look at Morgan Freeman's Slavery in New York. He's talking about slavery in New York, and they changed the date of slavery now from 1619 to some other date now in the 1600s, and they say it starts in New York now, not in Jamestown, because too many scholars put holes in the Jamestown, Virginia theory.
Right.
So that can't last no more.
Right.
So now it's this
new date.
It's a new date now, but y'all gonna be slaves. Okay. No, this idea of calling a black human being a slave is the crime to begin with.
Indeed.
This is the first crime. No black human beings in the past were slaves. That is a white colonial racist designation for our parents. Our parents could never be slaves. They were skilled laborers. They were the ones that came here and planted the rice, planted the corn, planted the tobacco, planted the weed, the marijuana, planted, they didn't want to talk about that, planted, built the roads. We came over as architects. We came over as astronomers.
Skilled laborers.
Skilled laborers. We were never slaves. Never, ever. That word is what is placed on us. Slavery. If you look at it in all dictionaries, start with the Oxford English Dictionary, slavery is only hard labor. We don't mean nothing else. Slavery, we make part of the slave. There's two different words. And those scholars know you can do this. The etymology on slave come from the Slavs in Russia and the Central Europe and where that word comes from.
Right.
So how does it get applied to black folk again? It doesn't. Slavery is just hard labor. Just hard labor. That's all slavery means. Drudgery, hard work. If you are watching this interview right now and you just did hard work, you was in slavery.
You enslaved.
You was enslaved. No, you wasn't enslaved. You was in slavery.
Oh, right. Okay, I see what you're doing. Yeah.
You was in slavery. You see, and look at how the law works, because they abolished slavery, but not the slave. Or the slave owner. Imagine, you abolish slavery, but the slaves, meaning we don't have sovereignty. What does it mean to be a slave? You are dependent on another. You are the slave. You are the dependent.
As we all are.
As we all are, on their system, on their laws, on their medicine, on their education, on their... The minute we get that sovereignty, then we are actually not slaves in law. But legally, we still slaves right now.
That's what our birth certificates.
That's what a birth certificate. Come on, you're a piece of property.
We're born into this debt system, and you have a piece of paper that someone else owns, and they can buy and sell it at any time.
And they're buying and selling it. And
Indeed.
that's what Ancestry.com is.
Indeed.
How the hell they get all your records?
Yeah.
What? You gotta pay?
Just pay attention. That's what you got to do. Pay attention. That they. That's all it is.
Right. We're all property now, but we're property in a fantasy because ain't no human being somebody property. But now here's the point. But if you're gonna run around acting like you property, if you're gonna run around ignorant of the fantasy,
The slave mindset.
come on now, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. If you're going to allow yourself, see, this is why America is great. This is the greatest country in the world.
The fantasy corporation.
The fantasy. This is why America is great.
Disneyland.
Because America will put the liquor store and the library on the same block. And say it's up to you.
Make your choice.
Make your choice. You go to the liquor store. How can God, how can karma ever strike America? If your history, it's a balance, and the balance is on that $1 bill. You see it right there, the key, the balance. This is what it is, the deception. The eagle facing two ways. Oh. Deception.
But you can make your own choice.
You can make your choice. So if you gonna make the choice to be an idiot,
are you a god? Or are you a demon?
Damn, and there we back to that again.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. Read Marcus Garvey. Dr. Martin Luther King wrote 5 books. Read any of those. These are the books I would start with. Kwame Ture and Charles V. Hamilton's book, Black Power. Check that out. Some new books. John Kerry's book, Every Day is Extra. John Kerry, Every Day is Extra. He's talking about his time in politics, and he was an anti-war dude. You know, in the book, he's rolling with John Lennon and doing anti-war protests, and it's a good read to see where how the 60s radical mind became a state.
Yeah.
You know, whatever he is, he's one of the most powerful men in the world.
Right.
But he wrote his memoir. I was reading.
He went from a radical to a world leader.
To a world leader. To write. But you know what though? What drew me to the book is that this is what happens to all of us. Kwame Ture told me this. Rest in peace. When he was alive. He told me that eventually you become the system. If you are successful, you'll be the system. Be careful. Yeah. That's what he said. Be careful.
Success is the system.
Success is the system.
At least that's the measurement.
Right. That's the measure. Right. Wise choice of words. That's the measurement of success is the system itself. And so, you know, and again, if you know that this is a fantasy, which is the purpose of knowledge and awareness, that you know.
Right. Long as you know.
As long as you know.
You can operate in it. You don't have to abandon it. Right. You just got to know you in it.
Look, the ancient saying is, be in the world, but not of it.
Very simple.
That's the ancient saying.
All right. Now, and just, you know, because to wrap it up, but to bring it also back home, the current state of hip-hop. And as one of our leaders, as someone that I look to for advice, and even being in the position that I'm in, I often find we're in a troubling time. Because in generations and times that you created or come from, substance was everything. The true essence of hip hop was we are the voices of our community, and we're going to express it and share it and create a culture for ourselves to help be sovereign. Now, materialism, capitalism has been injected in it. These young kids are richer than they ever been before. And I call it access to excess. I see it in every culture, but now that it's infiltrated hip hop, I got a lot of diamonds, I got a lot of cars, but that concept has now overtaken the substance. There's nothing wrong with it. Our ancestors wore jewelry and loved finer things.
Crazy.
But when it becomes about that, and it becomes the competition between one man and another. Right. And it's not competition as in combat, as showing our strengths, but it's competition and showing our weaknesses.
That's right.
You know, we went from a culture of showing how strong we are to embracing how weak we are. I used to be a drug dealer, now I'm a drug user, and I'm embracing that. So when we used to get on each other for the self-destruction of selling each other drugs, now we're brainwashing each other without the drugs. Now we're embracing being the users, being the fiend. The fiend is the cool thing.
It's the cool thing.
And then we have other guys on the outside who are trying to get a hold of the culture, but they're doing it from a bitter place of y'all doing it wrong. They're pointing fingers instead of trying to help and guide.
Looking at me ain't easy.
That blame right back around. So someone as an elder statesman, someone that we look to as a leader, what is the message to the current state of hip hop to keep it going? When you see something, when you see this beautiful picture that you painted, and somebody's just coming and doodling all over it, like, what do you say to that?
Well, they're not doodling. They're adding to the art. We saw all of this coming. Let me take you way, way back.
All right. Back in time.
Back into time. 1973. Kool Herc comes out with his turntable set in a place, small park called 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. He sets up his thing there. He had a few parties weeks before that, and they got so big that he took the party outside. When he came outside, I was living across the street. 1973, I lived in 1600 Sedgwick Avenue. He came outside, we started seeing block parties, me and my brother, Kenny. So from there, we started. When hip-hop started, I started. I was a b-boy. I was more of a graffiti writer. This is 73. Now, the Vietnam War had just came to a close. We were still high on Shirley Chisholm. Dr. King's blood was still splattered around.
Right.
Just got over Malcolm X and Medgar Evers. Well, Malcolm X was years later, but we just getting over Malcolm. Martin is right there. Medgar Evers is right there. They ran Stokely Carmichael out the country. And so the Black Panthers just got disseminated, broken up, and now there's the gangs who are trying to emulate the Black Panthers.
They're trying to show we got power because we got to protect ourselves.
We got to protect ourselves, and that's where the original gangs.
Yeah, they turn us on each other.
Here comes J. Edgar Hoover. I ain't gonna get it. You can look it all up.
Cohen protest.
Here you can look it all up. So at the end of the day, when this started, the universe, not these clowns, the universe,
right?
Not Sony, not FCA, not RCA, got the gun.
The universe
said,
and nature
said, this is what I want. Now, we started. KRS One was started with it. We grow. All through my life, I'm rhyming, graffiti writing, breaking, this, that, and the other. We thought it was just going to be us.
Right.
That's what it was. It's just
you didn't know it was going to be this global $1 billion.
Got stupid. After Rappers Delight, it even opened our own minds. When Rappers Delight, when what we were doing in the park.
What was the time from 73 to Rappers Delight, or that boom? Was it close to 7 years? Or?
Oh yeah. Well, there were stages. You have Herc coming out in 73. You have Zulu Nation 74. You have the Cold Crush
Brothers
75.
Right.
You have and Rocksteady Crew.
Right.
You have Grandmaster Flash 76. And right around 76, when Flash comes out with Cutting and Scratching,
right,
that kind of
took it to
a whole, we kind of diverted, went over here to the technology part of it all. And keep in mind, Grandmaster Flash had two other MCs. One was named Keith Cowboy, and the other one was Melly Mel.
Right.
These are the greatest MCs of all time. Not In terms of, well, of course, in terms of their skill, but because these were the first.
The forefathers.
The forefathers. We did not know how to rhyme until we heard Belly Mel.
And they were just bigging up how cold
Flash,
Graham,
right?
how
And
cold Graham
right, and they was battling Cold, and of course the Romantic Fantastic. And
to the first
Funky
battle,
Four.
Cold Crush Brothers. Yeah, that's where the word wild style is from Wildin' Out. That's where it all comes from.
I'm gonna get to that in a minute. This is because y'all keeping a tradition alive.
Yeah.
This is where it started. We started competing amongst ourselves. It was just a game between us.
Yes.
Right around Flash and 77, 78, Cold Crush battling Furious 5. Furious 5 battling Romantic Fantastic 5. Funky 4 plus one more, this and that. We started a little thing on our block, and we thought it was only going to be us doing this little thing.
Mm-hmm.
When Rapper's Delight came out, it went commercial. Everything got commercial, and we needed it to be. We are poor people.
To see our potential.
To see, we need I say this all the time. When the Sugar Hill Gang said, I got a Lincoln Continental and a sunroof Cadillac. They were speaking our dreams. They didn't have none of this. They didn't have none of this. Okay, they were
a bodyguard, two big cars.
Big Bank Hank was working at
a pizza shop.
Come on.
Yeah, none of that.
Yeah, none of that. But he spoke his dreams, and those dreams were also the dreams of everybody in the hood. We want this for ourselves too. And this goes back to the idea of wanting value or wanting to adorn yourself. It's actually a form of beauty and self-expression. To say, I'm going to take a part of nature and make it beautiful on me. Whether that be diamonds, gold, silver, platinum, copper, you name it. You take wood, shells.
All the minerals.
Anything you take of nature and you put it, say, I'm going to adorn myself. I'm going to make myself look a certain way. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
At all.
At all. All of nature grooms itself. We supposed to come from intelligent chimpanzees. Well, chimpanzees all day, they spend hours doing their hair. Hours all day they doing hair.
Picking each other
and grooming. This ain't human to just want to look good. Okay, everybody want to look good.
Peacock's got that flash. They tail is out there. They letting them know.
And it's a
you see me, girl.
That's right. So we gotta know. We got to know why we are attracted to certain things. Now, and you got me going with this peacock. Now, you made me forget what I was saying, because it's so true how nature beautifies itself.
It does.
And communicates in the beauty.
And it's natural for us.
And it's natural for us.
It's attraction.
Right.
And that's where, we adorn ourselves in these things to build ourselves up to make us look more attractive.
Back to hip hop. So the state of hip hop, I'll bring this to a close. We talked a little about the history, but the point is that at Rapper's Delight, we had both cultural and corporate. Many of us stayed cultural. People like me, we stayed cultural, and the cultural was not better. It was just it's a character issue. It's not better. It's a matter of what you can do. You gotta say that again, because a lot of people think that choice of corporate or culture. I mean, I had this conversation with Dame Dash, or like independent versus corporate, like that idea of I'm protecting my culture vultures. No.
There's that and then corporate. You can't look at the one who chose the corporate path as the bad one.
No, they can never be bad. Corporate is not bad.
Right.
Okay.
It's just corporate.
It's just corporate. It's a different route. It's like going from the jungle to the forest, or going from sea life to land life. Nothing's bad, but you can't act like you on land if you in the sea. So you can't act like you swimming if you in a forest.
Wow.
So for me, I'm a forest dude.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong. I go to the beach.
But there's the ways of the forest.
There's the ways of the forest. The forest ain't better. I can get killed in the forest too.
Yeah.
I can be unfulfilled in the forest too.
Right. There's lies in the forest.
There's lies in the forest and beasts
Right.
in the forest too.
Right.
But every once in a while, I go to the beach and I look out onto the ocean.
Right.
And I say, well, look, I can never be out there like the whale.
Right.
But the whale,
Is getting it.
is getting it in. Like, I could see this thing. And every once in a while, I may make a boat out of my world and sail out there.
But I'll never be a whale.
I'll never be a whale. A shark.
Right.
You know, I'll never be that. I'm a you know, in this case, I'm a guy from the woods. So the corporate, and let me say this, to be real honest, if I could be real transparent,
Yeah.
I'm kind of amphibious.
You can dabble.
Oh, I go in water and land.
Right.
I'm corporate and culture.
And there's nothing wrong with
That's
that.
why KRS is still here.
Yeah.
Because I noticed my brothers who went only cultural, they have no power to help the culture.
Because corporate is where the dollar is.
Not just the dollars, where thinkers are. It's not that thinkers are not in culture, but when you are successful at your thinking culturally, you become corporate.
Even with the education system.
Even with all of it, you become corporate. You enter this realm, and it's so funny because this is your, you made this.
Right.
You know, we made our recording industry. You know what I'm saying? Like, we made that. You know, we rearranged the rules of the music industry so that we can be in it.
Right.
Okay, so there's no complaint with corporate. We are corporate. Hip hop is corporate.
And it's an achievement to get there.
And it's an achievement to get there, just like it's an achievement to get to the culture. There's an achievement there too. You know, in my instance, in this instance, you have to be comfortable with not being recognized. That's the problem that I noticed why so many are bitter. That, imagine what you just said. You made a masterpiece painting. Masterpiece. Everyone already said it was a masterpiece. It already went around the world as a masterpiece.
A masterpiece.
Then you gave it to your children. You didn't give it to someone else. You gave it to your son and daughter, and they punched a hole in it.
Bow.
But it's your son or daughter. Okay, that's your kid. Okay? So ain't nobody to blame. Your kid punched a hole in your masterpiece. Now.
And said, look, it's still art.
And said, look, it's still art, Dad.
Look what I did.
Look what I did. I chopped it up. I made this. Now here's what the parent got to do. Okay? Change your perception. You don't have to give up who you are. But if your child sees that as art, see it as art as well. See it. Why? Because we learned this lesson already. That's the Sonic taught the lesson, talking all that jazz. You said it wasn't art. Now we're going to rip you apart. Stop. Check it out, my man. Go back, listen to those lyrics, and you will see what we were up against when we came out.
Because jazz was the first hip hop.
That was it right there. I would argue it was blues.
Okay.
No, but for this conversation, it's jazz. At least what influenced us.
Right.
You know, it was jazz and all the jazz greats. But they wasn't trying to hear that.
At all. Because there was a skill level to being a musician.
Musicianship, you grabbing something and playing it. We playing computers and you say you are a musician.
Pulling records back?
My brother, you playing a record and saying you're a musician. Hold on. I mean, look how bizarre.
That's like today, producers, all they know how to do is drag and click.
Yo, I've met producers on phones. Produce their beat on the phone. Who am I to say
that's not art? Sounds good. It moves me. It's a frequency. I'm on it.
So I don't have to say, listen, I'm going to get the SB12 and MPC 16. I'm going to go and do my thing. I could still have that.
You can do both.
You could do, but here's the thing. This is what I'm noticing. This is more of a message to the people from my era or in my consciousness, so to speak, those who want to keep it real with the culture.
Right.
Okay. Keep in mind that the culture doesn't need us to keep it alive. The culture is everlasting. Our culture been with us for millions of years. We didn't talk paleoanthropology here. Maybe we need to come back.
Yeah, we'll do. That'll be on the next Cannon class.
Yeah, but our culture goes back millions of years. Okay, the basics of what hip hop is: dance, speech, art, and the manipulation of nature. We call it DJing. That's basic. Homo heidelbergensis was doing that. Neanderthals were doing that. This is basic to us. But what we got to look at today is that our children, they are being creative, and they're being creative in the environment in which they're in. If I may be critical for a moment, when KRS One in the 80s was saying, you must learn, and we laid out that blueprint, and we said, why is that? And we said all of this. Most of the rap community was against it. The executives of radio, record companies, and magazines, they were against it. They weren't for it. And they weren't for it not because the message was not true or needed. It was because I appeared to be institutionalizing hip-hop by adding rules, by saying let's all come together on a stop the violence movement. That was seen by some as threatening, that KRS One is going to now unite all of hip-hop and we all got to be under him. And I heard that argument. I speak to my brothers all the time. So they're candid with it.
Yeah, they're like, who are you?
Who are you? Straight up. And I need that conversation. Right. But I did bring it to my people. And I said, listen, it's not me that needs to lead. I'm more of a priest type. I'd rather make a leader and put that person forward. But I'm willing to lead if no one else is. I know exactly what our culture needs. Exactly. Go back to the Stop the Violence movement. That's the beginning of it, right there. We need peace in our culture first. Let's establish the peace first. Peace is me and you got to stop arguing with each other.
Right.
We got to stop. We got to come to a peace first.
Right.
That's what the Stop the Violence movement was about. I took it up to human education against lies. Actually, the Stop the Violence movement inspired all in the same gang. Big up to everybody.
The West Coast.
The whole West Coast. They did their whole thing and ended gang violence on the West Coast.
There's a truce.
Which had a whole, the Crips, Bloods, the real dudes came together and had a truce. So, like, I'm wondering what is a Crip and a Blood today if the true founders of the Crips and the Bloods denounced it and called a truce.
And out here, it's completely different.
Oh yes.
You know, where even it's more about getting money.
Well, you know, I've ran into a few brothers, and the business is on.
Yeah. And it's and it goes back to the idea of unions and mafia. Which is a solid business.
Look, don't give it away. This is a public forum. Okay.
Am I giving too much game away?
This is you know, but you're right on it. This is what's going on right now with brothers gangs, what used to be called gangs.
And getting back to the origin of why we created them in the first place, protecting our community.
We're getting back to the Black Panthers in a community organizing way, and that we should. So I'm trying to put a period on the state of hip hop.
But it's ongoing.
It's ongoing because we're not gonna put a period on this because we are hip hop.
Yeah, and you touched on so many topics. This probably is definitely setting the record for the amount of gems in one Cannon's class, and we put that up there on the screen.
Wow.
And, again, another accolade for you. But and we will continue this conversation. But I feel like. You gave us so much wisdom, and honestly, just selfishly speaking, just what you've instilled in me and what you continue to instill. I just want to continue this dialogue and know that this is what this platform is all about. And I put people in that seat right there, from my professors to, you know, my peers, but only for people that I respect and want to learn from. And like I said, there's so many more conversations, and we just gonna have this. Just part one.
Part one.
It's part one, and to know that, as you said, that there's certain books that just don't exist.
Right.
This is the new book.
This is it. This is the new book. This is how it was before books. This is how it was done. There was the oral tradition.
Hey. Socrates, Aristotle, they sit down around around the water and have a discussion.
And the students would write or draw it even as remembrance. They would draw it and do it like that. I'll say this last piece. You made me remember, I don't want to leave the elders hanging that's listening to us, to love your children no matter what. The first rule of parenting is to never let your child's hand go. Your kids are crazy. They're crazy. They're going to wild out.
I see what you did there.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it. But you have to trust them and guide them and look back on when you was the kid that was being told by an elder that what you were doing is not right, not good, not contributing. And maybe it wasn't at the time.
Right.
But you grew up. Like I know I grew up. And I know that I look back on myself. Man, I talk to Roxanne Shante sometimes. I can't even look her in the face. I get this is the Queen Mother now.
That was one of the greatest battles in hip-hop.
I'm like, yo, why did I even, like, what?
What was I thinking? But you guys established culture.
But I say, I was young. I was doing my thing. I'm quite sure anybody my record is open for all to see. I'm not proud about a lot of things that I did in the past. But
without sin cast the first stone.
Hey, but
we all doing it.
This is what wisdom is. You don't get wisdom being good. You don't get wisdom being good. You got to sink to some low places. You got to talk to some criminals. You got to have a life in order to gain
criminal-minded.
This is come on now.
You've been blinded.
This is what it is. So I just say that, love is the law that binds everybody, binds the universe. It can bind our culture. It can bind hip-hop and African-American culture, because I believe that hip-hop is African-American enlightenment. It's like, the Asians have Buddhism and Indians have Krishna and Hinduism, or just Hinduism. Others have other. We have hip-hop.
That's our African-American enlightenment.
This is African enlightenment. This is
the philosophers of our culture.
Yes. This is what they propagated. This is when we got around and said, how are we going to get out this situation?
Hip-hop.
We said hip-hop, and it defeated the government of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. And it's still
defeated.
Going strong right now because the culture itself. Now go back. Why are you starting it up? See, why are you starting this up? You had said that these kids are destroying the culture. They're not. They're not. I know what you mean. That's why I refer to the masterpiece being destroyed.
Right. That's what I said. There's certain people. That's why I said they doodling on the masterpiece. Is that a problem?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I'm still in it. I'm still putting out records.
Remember that the Vatican, when the Vatican is always touched up. A masterpiece is never destroyed. It can be vandalized, but it can never be destroyed. We have to touch it up. You can erase graffiti off of a masterpiece. You can re-sew a torn canvas and tell the story. When you go to the British Museum in London, they have the bullet holes from Germany still in the wall of the museum. And they say, we left it there because it's history. This building represents our history, so we left the bullet holes in the thing. Yeah, they tore the culture up from 2000 to now. But guess what's going to happen in 2020? These same kids are going to rise like we did. And they're going to look and they're going to say, when we was stupid, what did you say as an elder when we was when we was asleep? When we didn't, what did you say? Did you love us? Did you care for us? Did you look at us, or were you just pointing the finger?
Are you chastising?
Are you chastising us? Or are you really teaching us?
Ridiculing.
Ridiculing as opposed to guiding. And so when we look back, you can rest assured that KRS One, at least, and there's a couple of others as well, but I'm a hard critic of everyone in hip hop.
Bottom line, you one of the best.
But
you one of the originators. You have the right to be there.
But in that criticism, the freedom for all of us to be who we are is what made hip-hop what it is. It is our freedom. If you want to say whatever, do, say, and be whatever you think is possible. For this culture can hold you. This culture can handle you. This culture is big enough for the most ridiculous.
No one person can ruin hip hop.
Not one person. Not a group of us can ruin hip hop. I'll tell you the truth. Hip hop is so big that even if all the African Americans ruined it, the Asians would take it and keep it moving. The Indians in India, Mumbai right now, that whole they're not gonna let hip hop go away. Africans, South Africa, there's no hip hop is there. We're here. We're permanently here.
Right.
Now you have to ask yourself: am I a god or a demon?
Brought it all the way back.
Thank you, my brother.
My man, this has been an amazing Cannons class, part 1, with the God
standing next to the God, a mirror.
KRS One, I truly appreciate you, and on so many levels, and we got to do this again.
I'm here. I go on tour in about 4 months. I'm going out to Europe, regular run. And I come back. I'm releasing this book. I got a few others as well. We're trying to do a criminal-minded documentary.
Ooh.
And not trying, we're doing it. But you know, it's you
that movie got to come out. The Boogie Down production movie has to come.
Don't keep it low.
They need to know that story. They need to know that story.
Oh, it's coming.
That's what's up.
We're doing the documentary first. We'll have your interview.
Oh, absolutely. All right, yeah, indeed. Whatever you need from me, you got it.
No, absolutely. Thanks for this.
No doubt. Thank you. And this has been another session of Cannons class. My favorite one so far. Appreciate you.